Divide and rule was the motto of British colonialism in India. And the year 1919 saw a classic example of this policy in action, when hundreds of unarmed, peaceful civilians in Punjab were shot by British soldiers under the command of the now infamous Butcher of Amritsar. British colonial reforms in 1919 endeavored to reward the people of India for their participation in World War I by allowing more Indians in governance. Still, wartime measures to suppress civil liberties were kept in place. Known as the Railway Acts, these measures ensured that police and armed forces could continue to imprison Indians without trial, suspend habeas corpus, and enforce prohibitions on public gatherings.
On the 13th of April 1919, troops from the British Indian Army committed the Amritsar Massacre, when they opened fire on non-violent protesters and pilgrims at Jallianwala Bagh. The First World War had seen the introduction of a series of emergency powers by the ruling British government that had sought to suppress the emerging Indian nationalist movement. The Rowlatt Act that came into effect in March 1919 extended these powers and was greeted with significant political unrest, especially in the Punjab region. On the 10th of April, violence erupted in Amritsar, and troops killed several nationalist protesters, while the crowd killed at least 5 Europeans. The following day, they beat a female English missionary. In response to the volatile situation, the British government placed Amritsar under martial law and passed control to Brigadier General Reginald Dyer. Dyer immediately banned gatherings of more than 4 people, although it is likely that many Punjabis from outside the city were unaware of the ban when they arrived at Amritsar for the annual Baisakhi celebrations on the 13th of April. An estimated 10,000 people gathered at Jallianwala Bagh, a large walled park in the city, although it's unclear how many were there to celebrate the festival and how many were nationalist protesters attending a demonstration. Dyer arrived at the Bagh with armed soldiers in the late afternoon and blocked all the exits. Without warning, he then gave the order for his troops to open fire in an attack that only stopped after most of the ammunition had been used. According to the British inquiry, 379 people were killed, although Indian estimates place the figure at more than 1,000. Winston Churchill, the Secretary of State for War at the time, condemned the attack as monstrous.
Gunshots ring out in a wealthy suburb of Lagos, Africa's largest city. The target? Young Nigerians who had been protesting peacefully against police brutality in the country for close to 2 weeks. Eyewitnesses tell CNN that military trucks barricaded them and started shooting from both sides, hitting multiple demonstrators. The Lagos State Governor, Babajide Sanwo-Olu, has appealed for peace and said only 1 person has been confirmed dead so far, contrary to what witnesses have told CNN.
I want to plead with parents. I want to appeal to guardians. I want to appeal to our citizens, especially our youth, that I am for you. I am with you. I feel the pain, and I understand that indeed you are not happy with what the turn of events had been last night. I want to say once again that as your governor, I will do everything to ensure that every life indeed do matters.
The military has also taken to social media to cry fake news. So far, 15 people have died since the protest started earlier this month, according to Amnesty International.
The Lagos Judicial Panel of Inquiry for the Restitution of Victims of SARS-related abuses has presented the full report on their findings and recommendations to Lagos State Governor Babajide Sanwo-Olu. The 309-page document revealed that at the Lekki toll gate, officers of the Nigerian army shot, injured and killed unarmed, helpless and defenseless protesters without provocation or justification while they were waving the Nigerian flag and singing the national anthem, and the manner of assault and killing could in context be described as a massacre. The panel also found that the Nigerian police force deployed its officers to the Lekki toll gate on the night of the 20th, and between that night and the morning of the 21st of October, it shot at, assaulted and battered unarmed protesters, which led to injuries and deaths. It further revealed that police officers also tried to cover up their actions by picking up bullets. The report also stated that the Lekki concession company manipulated the incomplete CCTV video footage of the Lekki tollgate in an attempt to cover up, as well as the failure to preserve the scene ahead of potential
You heard your name in that press conference by the governor of Lagos State, Babajide Sanwo-Olu. How does this come to you? I guess you are preparing yourself for that peace walk.
I think what is on ground is very simple. It's simple. The Lagos State government herself set up a panel for reconciliation, for sake of peace, for sake of justice, and so that we can all move on, knowing fully well that justice will be served. But now the panel has presented their report. The next line of action will be for the government to implement the recommendations of the panel. Anything contrary to that takes us back to square one, where there's so much distrust. It's part of the problems that led us to where we are today. There's a lack of trust between the people and the government.
You said you're not going to be part of that work. The governor said in that speech that he's looking for the restoration of peace, a situation where there will be a bridge of the gap between the people and the government. What would you like to tell the governor tonight if this is his view on creating peace and rebuilding Lagos from the crisis we saw from last year, 20th of October last year? What is your opinion on how do you think they can go about this?
But I'm sorry, I don't think a walk is the solution. We have had walks in the past. It was in the process of walking that peaceful protesters were shot at. It was the process of walking that people like me and a lot of others have been beaten up, threatened, harassed. Till now, some of us are still suffering because we have decided to walk. So, lasting peace and unity amongst all Lagosians, amongst all Nigerians, that our own peaceful walk could not bring about, that they had to be sending hoodlums. This we are hearing, they hijack this, they hijack that. I'm always curious. Why is it that a lot of times when they are doing events, you see rallies here, and hoodlums don't hijack. But when the people say they are tired of something, when the people want to make their views heard, we will always say that they hijack. Temporarily, what will be a sign of good faith for me is that the panel that the government themselves set up has presented the report, their findings, and they have made recommendations. The sign of good faith will be that these recommendations are being processed, and and you are saying, oh yes, all these things that these people have said, apology. I mean, you have to first acknowledge. You have to acknowledge in plain terms what happened. Did this happen? Oh yes, it happened. Oh, we accept, we acknowledge the fact that this has happened, and then these are the steps that we are going to take to correct it. So, but now if you want to, okay, so that means we're just going to take a walk of peace, then we are just walking. What happens after the walk? Does that bring justice to the lives that have been lost, to the families that have been rendered homeless? A lot of them. We need to critically think about these things.
Hi everyone, the Fatherland Group is a global network of Nigerians armed with a deep understanding of our past, present, and our future. Please like, follow, share our YouTube channel. Subscribe. Subscription on YouTube is actually free, so please do that and turn on your notifications. That way you'll be the first to know whenever we share new content. To learn more, please log on to the fatherlandgroup.org. fatherlandgroup.org. Thank you.